does not like to idle at all. I have not touched the throttle once. Not touched it. I'm still not touching the throttle. I pull in. This is the first time that this is idled. Oh, I touched the throttle. I made a mistake. Shouldn't have done that. Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and pop that right now, because that's the whole point of the excitement of this car. This is an E34. I bought an E34. Oh, this is cool. This is a Porsche Stuttgart emblem. It was on the ground upside down. This is a Euro E34 M5.
And the beginning of a story that leads right up to the development of the M5, a car that Road and Track magazine named one of the 10 best in the world.
That is correct. And it is the 3.8 variant. It's not really the 3.8 variant anymore, because under the hood lies something that I think is one of the coolest engines BMW ever made. Production engines. Not really, those are super light. Let me tell you, it is not just a standard V12. This is the legendary 850 CSI drivetrain. It is the S70B56. So yes, it is a 5.6 liter V12 BMW engine in one of the greatest cars they ever made.
One of the 10 best in the world.
It has a UUC big brake kit on it now, on the front and the rear, and the sway bars front and rear are actually racing dynamic sway bars. So I need to measure those sizes to see what those are, and we can compare and see the sizing for if they're a little bit bigger or if they're actually a little bit smaller than the Nürburgring stuff. I suspect they're bigger. That would make sense to me because the brake kit on this thing is huge. This car needs a lot. So I don't necessarily know the best way forward with it. My goal, dreams, and aspirations are to completely refurbish this thing, bring it back to life, 100%. But it's just so weird that it's one of those, it's so crazy, it just might work. It's truly one of those cars. It really is. It's like I said, it's got the full CSI drivetrain aside from the diff. The diff is a quaif. I don't know what ratio it is yet. What is that noise? I got the 3 blind mice hanging out next to me, I think, in the walls. Oh, I straight up do. Oh my gosh. I gotta save this little guy. Look at this. I have a blind mouse. There he is. Little mouse. I'm gonna go put him outside. Give me 1 second. I need to. It's turned into a rescue mission. I have no idea how that mouse got in there, but he went free to the land of the free, which is not a trash can. This car right now has 83,000 miles on it. And the whole drivetrain was put into this car at 71,000 miles. And at that time, they bought a brand new transmission clutch flywheel, which is a G560. So the clutch, flywheel, and transmission have just over 10,000 miles on them, which is incredible. And judging by the overall condition of the engine, it looks like the CSI engine. And I'm going to confirm with Brett. I am going to reach out to Brett at some point and get as much of the history that I can on this car when they built it. But I do think that the CSI, I think this S70 has relatively low miles as well. All right, let's do a little walk around now, because I'd like to show you kind of the overall condition of this car. And I'll just be blunt, it's not good. I'm also a bit of a perfectionist. I think that's what these cars deserve. So it looks way better, mind you, it looks way better right now. It looks shiny and nice because it's wet. It is unfortunately not that way. Also, quickly, I'll point out, you see the reflectors here. Well, what's Euro car? Why is there reflectors? I mentioned it's federalized, which is a really big deal. It's really cool that it's federalized. So it's got, in order to do that, they had to do a couple of things. They did some magic too. I'm sure it was very legit back in the day. It was way harder back in 2003 than it is today to do that same thing. So in order to do that, they had to adhere to the rules of the U.S. roads and make it essentially like a U.S. spec Euro E34. So that was indicators on the side markers. What's interesting is I think these may have been swapped back to Euro lights because one of those things would have also been US spec headlights. So maybe they did US spec headlights and everybody loves Euro smileys. So they're like, okay, we did it, federalized, Euro smileys back on. And the back also has the side indicators because, again, needs to happen in order to be federalized. They're red in the back, I think, to match the red lights, and they're white in the front, I think, to match the white in the front. And the third brake light. US cars have the third brake light on the parcel shelf. Euro cars did not have a third brake light, so in order to do that, here in the States, you had to integrate it somewhere. The coolest and the most efficient way to do that is in the spoiler, which was killer. And Hella actually made a spoiler for the E34 M5 or E34, I guess, period, that had the third brake light in it. And you can see that the wiring just runs down along this post and then down, and then it gets spliced into the turn signal underneath this panel. Oh yeah, everybody loves this, me included. Look at that, the reflector, pretty much complete kit. Missing 1-2 tools, but actually I have those in my Euro Touring, so it's a complete kit when it needs to be a complete kit. It also has, what's ultra cool to me is, I just shut that, didn't mean to. That's a tow hitch right there. Because this car, and it seems like every car in Europe, including mopeds, have the tow bar, which is killer. That's not something you really ever see in the States, unless it's a European spec car or somebody retrofit one or someone bought some Euro stuff and put it on their US car. So the back bumper is in actually probably the best condition of the entire car. It has that little bit of a sag that they always do in the center of these rear bumpers, but other than that, the rear bumper is in pretty damn good condition. Clear coat has left the chat. You can hear the difference in just these two panels versus. So the top of the car, aside from the hood, is in the absolute worst shape. Unfortunately, I think ice really did a number to this car. Ice and snow really, really messed this paint up. So it needs a complete respray. Now we see this little incident down here. This is a big, big bummer because not only did it destroy this front bumper, it dented and destroyed the paint on the quarter, even though this car is to be repainted anyways, but it put a nice little couple teeth dents because this was a dog. Pup just got a little angsty, I think, and decided to take it out on the bumper because, you know, screw that M5. It doesn't have a 3.8. He was pissed. He was pissed, and he took it out on this car. M systems need to be refreshed. All of these have really bizarre paint, like not even chips. They're just paint missing. But while we're down here, you can also see that UUC big brake kit, which is super cool. It's a 6-piston front and a 4-piston rear, and the front rotors are about the same size as the rear rotors. I should say that the other way. The rear rotors are about the same size as the front rotors, which means they're huge. They're huge. One kind of cool thing too is at some point when this car was built, they actually retrofit the Sport 540 air ducts that run on the vents in the front of the bumper to cool the brakes. They retrofitted it onto this M5 front bumper. So it had the BMW parts, I'll show you in the trunk, for the little vents. You can see that big chunk missing out of the front bumper right there too, for the little vents to the brakes, which is super cool, but you can't get those anymore. So this one in the trunk, that got destroyed by, I mean, that does look like a really delicious, chewy piece of plastic. I don't blame the dog. Just got kind of destroyed. So maybe I can fix this. Highly unlikely, but you never know. You can find all sorts of things. Let's take a peek on the interior, and then I'm gonna actually start doing a little bit of work to this car. I did start already. I did the fuel filter, and I did the air filters, and I just kind of inspected some other things because I wanted to start to get this thing running and driving. I really want to drive this thing and experience what it feels like. But let's get into the interior and let me show you around a little bit. I guess I should just say E34 sport seats, but they are M5 specific because they're in an M5. They are manual, which is super cool. I love manual sport seats. It has a UUC, ouch, 6-speed honking, bigger than a golf ball shift knob, weighted. It's a different feeling, I'll tell you that. And a short shift kit, as well as the EML integrated sport and K for, I imagine, comfort throttle settings. And that is functional. And it also has EDC, S and P for sport, and P, I forgot what it stands for, but it stands for something. As you see the wood trim in here. And that was not in every M5 in Europe. So this is, I'm going to go on the other side so I can show you the badge so you believe me. This is actually an AC Schnitzer trim set. I have no reason to believe that that's not authentic, but as you can see, it's adhesive. So it's an adhesive wood trim set that's actual, like the wood, at least a slice of wood, which is kind of odd. But I guess what you don't have in Europe, you want. That's in the US. And what you don't have in the US, you want. That's in Europe. Everybody just wants what everybody else has. This car also has a power rear sunshade that doesn't work. And anything else of note in here? Yeah, black headliner, which is always really cool. And power rear headrests, which also don't work. And yeah, the front seats are heated, which is always nice. And that's kind of the basic rundown of the car. I am going to now start doing a little bit of work on this thing. I want to start to kind of pull off the top end of this car. I want to pull the fuel injectors, send the fuel injectors out for cleaning, pull the valve covers, make sure that those nuts on the oil rails are nice and tight. So pull the valve covers off, pull the fuel injectors out. I already replaced the fuel filter, like I said. Probably should drain the gas. I did pull the ECUs out and take a peek at them. They have been modified. So I don't know if there's chipsets in them, but they have the little special tape that you put on after you open them up and close them up. So, oh yeah, I also have the rebuild, throttle body rebuild kits from Ed at V12 Throttle. I'll throw those in too, and hopefully we can get this thing running and driving so I can see how it feels. I'll get it titled and registered in California because it should be fine. It's got a US VIN. Let's go take a peek. You see that right there? Substitute for US VIN C49CFR part 565. That's all fancy stuff for I'm legal. So cool. I'm going to start doing some work on this thing, pulling off some stuff and doing some things. This is now off. This is still connected though. What is this connected by? Isn't it just clips? No, it's this. There you go. Okay, we got it. Yay. Okay, one is off. There it is. See that? That does appear to be extrude honed. Cool. All right. Okay. So today is a new day. I stopped because I had to stop. Today I'm going to be spending very little time. I don't have much time again. That's what happens when you have a full-time job and you still want to do this stuff for fun. So let's get in there. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so at first glance, brown. Not crazy bad. Not crazy bad, but oh, that's interesting. We have a little mark. See a little ding? That's interesting. I don't like that. Let's look into this. Oh, do you know why that happened? This is what I was afraid of. And this is exactly why I did this right now. All right, friends, let me take my gloves off. Show you why it is very important when you have an S70, an M70, or even an M73 to, right off the bat, pull your valve covers. Look at that. That is backed out completely. That's insanity. That is insane. So that's pretty common. Ends, pretty common to be, yep. This one too. See that? I bet you this one's tight. Yep. And then this one's probably tight. Yep. Okay. So I think we got lucky because I think that's just a little bit of, yeah, the cam profile, the lobes look actually fantastic. The lobes look very, very nice. I don't know. I mean, inside there's not a ton of varnish. It's pretty clean too. You got a little bit of sludge buildup. Let's get a light on. There we go. That's better. But not bad. This is a relatively low mileage engine. I still need to confirm, so I'm not going to say a number yet. But it's relatively low mileage. But even with that being said, these suckers will pop out and wreck your day. So the reason why this is bad is because these are Banjo bolts. So oil travels through these bolts. Now, there are no holes at the thread line because that's not how the bolt is designed. This bolt is designed to be nice and snug, and then this hole then lines up with the hole inside of this pipe, and the oil gets pumped up, travels along this bar, and drips oil on each one of those cam lobes. And when you have these bolts backed out like that, it essentially just creates a blockage in that tube, and you're no longer getting oil coming through these feed line or into this feed line and dropping down on your cam lobe. So I'm really happy that I did not try to get this thing running and driving now and pulled these off immediately to check these. I had a suspicion, and I'm really glad I did this. It just saved this engine, this S70. All right. I am not even going to snug those because we have that new set on order. And that new, I mean, I'll just hand tighten these. But that new set on order actually comes drilled through at the top of those, and then you put wire through those holes on the top, and then you essentially back tie it so that the bolts, even if they were to vibrate and turn, they can't turn because then it starts to tug on that wire that you drilled through the top of that bolt. Essentially completely solving this issue with the bolts backing themselves out. I'm going to gently set this valve cover back on top. Close this sucker up. It's been said that you can Loctite these bolts, and that was BMW's fix with the later design. They had bolts that came with thread locker on the threads from BMW. Apparently that works. Some have also said that it does not work, and that's simply a patch, and eventually they will still back out. The drilling through, especially with an engine like this, an S70, you're not finding these. You gotta just do the absolute not gonna back itself out method, which is drilling through. Just gonna do a little bit more peeking in my eyes underneath the valve cover here, take a look at a few more things, and then I'm gonna pop that valve cover back on and just assume it's the same on the other side. Just making me want to rebuild the whole thing. What? Get out of there. Get out of there. That's probably what I'm gonna end up doing, honestly. Shredding style. There we go. Okay. Closed up. Let's get it back for those. Get onto the other side. Pop the other side off. Quickly inspect. Make sure nothing's catastrophically bad. Ziploc. Aha! Oh, no. No. I don't like that. Okay. I just manhandled it a little bit. This is unfortunate. You can see that mark right in the center, what we learned from the other one, as well as the mark back here, which is why I couldn't get it out because it was stuck. So this one was way worse. Thankfully, didn't smoke the cam. But it would have. This guy, loose, almost 3 turns. Again, this one, I'm not even going to bother. I mean, that is out. Okay, this one was actually okay. And then finally, you could just see that. That is out, which is why I couldn't get the valve cover off because it was catching on the top of that. Tighten that guy back down really quick. Just peeking at this quickly. I mean, you can kind of see there's no deep scoring on the tops of any of these lobes. You can't catch your finger, at least on the ones that are upright that I can see and feel. This is kind of making me just want to say, pull it all. Pull it all, fix it all. You just want to cradle it in your arms and tell it it's going to be okay. But how can you do that if you haven't pulled it all apart and seen it yourself? That's just so much work. So, I don't know. I don't know. What I do know, though, is that we caught it, and it does look pretty good under there. Decisions. I think really quickly, I'm going to pop this car up on the lift and show you guys underneath this car so you kind of have a better grasp of where my headspace is at when I keep saying potentially pull this driveline out of this car. I drove this in going, I'm not going to put it on the lift or anything. Here I am, putting it on the lift. I love BMW so much. These nice little arrows that tell you jack point's right here for you. Safety. All right, I grabbed the Macho light bar so that we can really take this in together. I mean, from this angle, doesn't it just look fantastic? Oof. Okay, we're good there. Not really. You could just see, whole thing's destroyed up front. Okay, little rust spot starting. Wonder what that could be signaling. Oh, wait, let's just look at this over here. Oh, previous patch job. Oh, okay. That's that. And then you just look at the lines and they get worse the further it goes back. We'll get there, don't worry. Other side. Yeah, not great. Let's go to the other side from this direction. I mean, one beautiful thing, one really, really beautiful thing is that G560. I'll give it that, all right? I'll give it that. And that's because that thing only has 9,000 miles on it or so, maybe a little more. That's a glorious thing. That is a glorious thing. A few suspension components have been replaced. 1, 2, 3, and 4. But everything else needs to be replaced. Okay. Given that is, pretty typical E34 stuff, all right? I get it. No big deal. But anywhere that there could be rust, there's rust. And I know the European dudes are like, oh, that's nothing, man. You're good. But I'm not in Europe. I'm in the US of A. And we don't have to deal with rust. And I'm in California, of all the states. We don't deal with rust. Rust is not a thing we deal with. We have our hands full with other things. So that's way out of my wheelhouse, guys. It's not the end of the world type rust, but it has to be dealt with. These lines, all of them need to be replaced. Every bracket, each of those lines. They did a patch job right there, so that end half has been replaced for that line. But, yeah. In my mind, I see any point that's got any bit of surface rust that's becoming more than surface rust would need to be pulled and replaced or resprayed. Diff is super leaky. Diff's got to come out and be resealed. Thing is wet. These lines are pretty much rusted through, or damn near about to be rusted through. We can see SLS back here, which is cool. For those who don't know how it works, let me show you. Do you see that rod? Let's go with the big light. Come on. Ooh. Problem with the big light is that it's big. It's hard to see. See that rod that goes back there? Let me see if I can get my finger on it. There we go. So that rod is tightened around this sway bar, rear sway bar. And as this rear sway bar actuates and goes up and down with the suspension, it pushes on this lever, and this lever is connected up here to an actuator rod. That is up into that little motor that's super freaking rusty. It's the first time I've actually really taken a look at that. And it actuates it up and down, and it sends a signal to a computer, which then, actually, I know that does have a small computer, and then it runs to these boosters on each side, and then runs to your struts, and makes self-leveling suspension things happen. It's actually a really, really brilliant and relatively simple system, and it still functions on this car. At least it seems to be functioning. Oof. Yeah, those brackets need to come out. Everything back here needs to come out. There's this little nice filter I replaced with the bracket that needs to be replaced because it's broken and held on with zip ties. Fuel tank. I think we're good. I guess that's kind of it for undercarriage stuff. But back bumper, like I said, is actually in the best condition of the whole body of this car. Why is my phone not focusing today? There we go. It's really grumpy, which is just a bummer. But being a European car, and also being a car that was on the East Coast, I guess I get it. I talked earlier about where that dog went a bit haywire. You can see the chew marks there. Unfortunately, oh yeah, you can see the booster, the bomb was replaced by Wills, who was selling this car in 2016. It was kind of the last time it was for sale, before I just picked it up. See the chew marks there? Well, what was in this place, which was really cool, including that whole bottom portion. I talked about this before. This had been modified to utilize the 540 Sport brake ducts, and those are OEM BMW parts. And there was one on this side, and this is the side that would typically be cooling the alternator, but was retrofit with the 540 Sport brake cooling ducts. And that one is in the trunk chewed up. I think I showed that in a previous video, or in this video, I can't remember, for filming, but there's the other one. So that was pretty cool. I'll have to adapt that to the next bumper that goes on this car, if another bumper goes on this car. But regardless, those are going to be going on another E34, if not this one, because that's super cool. So I don't know if I am sorry or excited that this is the first video of this S70 CSI drivetrain E34 M5 on YouTube. I don't know. On the one hand, super cool, and I'm really excited to be able to share stuff like this to other people who love these cars and to people who could love these cars. But then on the other side of it, it's in a really sorry state. It's in a rough state. I know there's another YouTuber out right now in Europe, or I think he's in the UK. He just found himself a $6,000 euro E34 M5. And he's doing kind of what I'm doing at this very moment, which was looking around and deciding what he wants to do with it. Everybody's screaming at him to restore that thing, and I agree. I think they should. I don't know what to do with this one. And I've probably said that now 3 or 4 times in this video in different ways, but I really don't. So regardless, I'm super excited to make a great YouTube playlist out of this car to document the direction I decide to go with it. Whatever happens, I promise, at least to myself, it's going to be cool. Restore the whole car, painful, tons of work, tons of work, tons of work. I can't even wrap my mind around it. It's too much. Okay, wrap my mind around it a little bit. It's doable in a lifetime, but it's a lot of work. On the other hand, drivetrain out, refresh the entire drivetrain while it's out, which sounds like a ton of fun to me, actually, genuinely. I can't wait to do the M70, but to do an S70, scary, 1, 2, sounds like fun. Also painful though, because there's so much custom stuff on this E34. To make it work as functionally as it does, it would be pretty tedious to map it all out. Also, you know, it's a cool car. It's a weird car, it's a cool car. If I had a 3.8 lying around, an S38 3.8, I'd just put the S38 3.8 back into this, being real with you. I think that's what this car really should have in it, being that such a special car in itself, but I don't. So unless that happens, I still don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing. Regardless, thank you for tuning in. Please share this video with a friend who you think might appreciate a car like this. Also, let me know in the comments if I missed something while we were doing the scan, or if you saw something, or if you have an idea, or you just want to say hi, or you have an opinion. Let me know, because I do like to interact with folks, and I made plenty of friends just by doing car stuff. So, catch you guys in the next one. Don't know necessarily when or what that's going to be about, but there'll be another one. I can guarantee you that. Anyways, thanks a lot, and I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. I wish I had a little theme song. Ba 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 ba. Da, 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 da. That's M539. And then we got that's Vice Grip Garage. Yeah, I don't have one. I need one. Somebody help.